Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Stellar Blade, woke activists enraged by video games with attractive female characters. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. From Zero Hedge, Stellar Blade, woke activists enraged by video games with attractive female characters. From PlayStationLifestyle.net, Stellar Blade currently the most pre-ordered game on the PlayStation Store. It's selling really well. And from That Park Place, while Stellar Blade comes under attack, pre-orders increase as gamers let developers know they want beauty in their games. Stellar Blade is a new video game, and woke activists don't like that the main character is beautiful. The main character is based on an actual person, the model Jae-eun, who is married to the concept designer for the video game. She actually did 3D modeling, and it's her. The character is not even a completely fictional creation. The character is based on an actual human being who was the model. It's a great-looking character. The game is selling well. Woke people don't like it. That's not what they want. They don't want people to see beauty in video games, in entertainment, or anywhere. This is what they would prefer. A nice, big, juicy character that wouldn't have any kind of visual appeal. They put out video games with elements like this in them. Really ugly female characters that you can't even tell if they're biological females or trans females. Recently, Zero Hedge covered the exposure of leftist activist-run consulting firms that have been discreetly involved with the widespread wokeification of the video game industry. These firms have been known to operate on a protection racket-like model. They threaten the video game developers with cancel culture mobs unless they hire the firm to fix their games to fit their agenda. The fixing usually involves a host of DEI requirements, from forced diversity to the inclusion of LGBT themes and propaganda for kids. These consulting companies only exist for one reason. They don't care about video games. They don't care about gamers. They're not even doing this for money. What they seem to want to do is to inject as much woke ideology as possible into the gaming industry that they know has an immense influence on the next generation. Leftists see video games as a platform to manipulate the collective thinking of the future. And that's how leftists see everything. Anything that has any power or any influence, they seek to control it. They must control it. Otherwise, they can't push their agenda. So when something like Stellar Blade comes along, or anything else that doesn't fit the mold of creating either ugly entertainment or mindless stories that have no purpose with bland characters, they go and they attack it. This is the problem with Disney and their woke agenda, which Bob Iger now claims that nobody knows what woke really means. From Hollywood Reporter, Bob Iger on woke Disney criticism. A lot of people don't even understand what it means. Bob Iger is now claiming that Disney isn't focusing on putting messages first in their entertainment anymore, and they're not being political, because they consider their political agenda to be a matter of human rights. It's beyond question. That's how bad it is. They can't remove the propaganda from their content, or it would be like a crime against humanity as far as they're concerned. And this is why it's so important to reject the woke agenda and to support things that are beautiful rather than things that are ugly, even if it's a very small percentage of all the entertainment that's out there. If you won't sign on and support the junk that they're doing, you ultimately will frustrate their agenda, because they really need 100% compliance. They can't have 80% or even 90 or 95%. When you compare this character or this character to this character or this character, a beautiful character to an ugly character, there really is no comparison. And something like Stellar Blade, when it's a big moneymaker, which it will be, will invite other independent creators to come in and also produce great content. One agenda which has been incredibly important to the activists is their war on the male gaze and Western beauty standards in general. The reasons for this are varied. Some activists believe that men should not be allowed to set standards for women in any form, even though women set standards frequently for men. Biological imperatives and inherent attractions for men are treated as toxic aggression that needs to be snuffed out. Other activists argue that beauty representations in popular media are unattainable and cause young girls and women to have a negative sense of self-worth, but they still allow it on Instagram. On Instagram, it's okay, just not in media. In reality, many beauty standards are perfectly attainable through self-improvement, but this is a violation of the beauty at any size cult, as well as the claims by feminists that attractiveness is nothing more than a social construct. Perhaps traditional beauty is attainable for most women. It's not just attainable for feminists. They don't tend to be that attractive. Then there are those people that want to completely subvert what it is to be a woman. The trans movement is distinctly aware of depictions of women in pop culture, and they've sought to make females appear more masculine wherever possible. Why? Maybe because they believe this will speed up the acceptance of trans women. If movies and video games are saturated with manly-looking women, then the concept of natural femininity could be lost, at least in theory. If the government goes full totalitarian, they could ban certain images and certain depictions, and then only leave behind depictions that they approve of. This problem in particular has become pervasive in video games, with ugly female characters becoming the mainstay. The trend has not been overlooked by the gaming community, though anyone asking for more attractive women in games is immediately attacked for misogyny. The proof that this is an agenda is revealed not only by the horse-like faces of modern female game characters, but the way in which activists attack companies that choose not to follow the trend and make attractive characters instead. This has been the case with the impending launch of a new version of a classic Sony PlayStation title called Stellar Blade. South Korean developer Shift Up produced the game, which includes a busty female protagonist, complete with pleasant feminine facial features and jiggle physics. Social justice warriors responded with outrage, and leftist gaming journalists, including those at IGN France, suggested that the character was the sexualized fantasy of someone who has never seen a woman, even though this was actually based on a real woman. She's beautiful, not every woman looks like this, but it's not a fantasy of a woman, it's an actual woman. It's not this, but it's an actual woman. The cult of ugly is obviously not limited to gaming. The recent announcement of a new film version of Romeo and Juliet revealed final casting decisions, including Tom Holland and Amewudah-Rivers. Decide for yourself which one will play Romeo and which one will play Juliet. It could be either or both. The progressive takeover of pop culture and the decision to erase femininity from media is not only an exercise in subverting the male gaze and adding variety to depictions of women, it's also an exercise in subverting consumer demand and the free market. If this was only about representation, then they would not be so hostile to the occasional female character that fits the traditional mold of attractiveness. However, they can't tolerate even one girl with jiggle physics. The existence of Stellar Blade for them is unacceptable. They believe that consumers should not be allowed to dictate the market. Rather, they think they should be the arbiters of everything we see and hear. And for some reason, activists really want to surround us with as much ugly as possible. And from that Park Place, while Stellar Blade comes under attack, pre-orders increase as gamers let developers know they want beauty in their games. Stellar Blade promises to give fans what they want with an attractive primary protagonist in Eve. PlayStation's upcoming game Stellar Blade is generating both hype and backlash for its decision to have a highly attractive female as the title character. The character, Eve, is featured with many different obtainable costumes. Many of the outfits highlight her female figure with a prominently featured backside. The decision to have a character with a highly sought-after body standard is a throwback to the 1990s and 2000s, where many body types were both realistic and unrealistic, but often very appealing to viewers' eyes. This move has been receiving critical acclaim from gamers who have wanted to see a return to form in the industry. Sexualized characters were a major selling point in the video game industry to the point where it became part of the culture. Attractive females did very well for the sales charts in the past. Techno and Team Ninja saw a lot of success from their Dead or Alive series and its volleyball spin-offs that featured their title characters in bikinis very often throughout the series. Many female gamers love the ridiculousness of the body standards of women in games, as everyone often unrealistically has the body of a model. IGN's Casey DeFrias once said in regards to Dead or Alive Extreme 2, quote, playing a ridiculous game with TNA galore, but many of my office friends ended up joining and laughing with me at the ridiculousness. Yeah, it's just fun. However, controversy has emerged in recent times relating to Stellar Blade's developer Shift Up Corporation's decision to have an attractive sexualized character as their flagship lead. In a Twitter post, Gaming Rukina said, the work of two women on the game had been removed by Shift Up due to them both being feminists and complaining about fan service in games. Fan service is like customer service. You give people what they want. But it seems that these feminist views do not actually align with the direction Shift Up desires to take their upcoming game. The game's director, Hyung-Tae Kim, stated in an interview with Games Radar that it has become somewhat of a brave thing to be going for or attempting. When it comes to the design, We put special attention on the back of the character because the player is always facing the back of the character when they're playing, he said. That's what they see the most of, so he thought this was pretty important. The viewpoints of the former employees align with the trends in the past decade as game publishers have listened to input from activists, various feminists, and worked with the highly controversial company Sweet Baby Incorporated in an attempt to appeal to what is often described as more modern audiences. However, it seems these modern audiences are a very small minority in the gaming sphere, as recent games targeted at the non-traditional audiences have both underperformed and received major backlash from longtime gamers and fans. Rocksteady's Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is the latest in a stream of disappointments, as it has seen major amounts of refunds and a very small player base. Perhaps the praise towards Stellar Blade could be the beginning of a return to more attractive fantasy-like characters in the West. Many games in modern times opted to instead portray their female characters with masculine traits and very little sex appeal to those buying the games. If the games make money, eventually there will be other new games that go for the money as well. They will give people what it is that they want. As long as it's still legal, and that's kind of questionable in this country, I hope it stays that way. Some of these companies are operating like they know something about the future that the general public doesn't know, like producing things that people actually want isn't going to be viable somehow. Maybe distribution's going to be shut down. Maybe there'll be some new code of conduct standards where you need to get approval for visual depictions of things. This should certainly not be happening in the United States. We have a lot of constitutional rights to protect us, but that doesn't mean our rights won't be violated. It's our ability to protect our constitutional rights that makes a difference. Not really what's written on a piece of paper, because a tyrannical government is not going to respect what's written on a piece of paper. While it was seen as a positive for many activists who were part of many news sites that dominated the narratives in the 2010s, with falling franchise sales in recent years and many of these journalist sites shutting down, it's become more and more obvious where the money is in modern times. Throughout history, the reality is sex sells. Many people just want to escape from their own personal world for a little while and pretend to be a cool character with the body of a supermodel for just a few hours. Whether you agree with the possible return to high fitness and makeup type elements in the body of video game characters or not, the truth is video games are an escape to many players. Many look to the medium of games in order to live out the hope of experiencing a world that seems far away. Many people have even done heavy labor-intensive gym exercises to be able to portray these popular characters more closely in their cosplay and fan films. Quote, honestly, when I play a game, I would like to see someone who is better looking than myself. That's what I want. I don't want to see something normal. I want to see something more ideal. I think that's very important in a form of entertainment. This is, after all, entertainment targeted for adults, said Stellar Blade's game director, Hyung-Tae Kim. Body presentation has been a very debated subject in the 2020s. The want for body positivity has been called on by many activists to combat against the stereotypes of beauty that were viewed as, in their eyes, unrealistic or perceived as unattainable. The counter-argument has been that these goals lead to a more fitness-focused and successful life that does overall better for one's health, both physically and mentally. It's aspirational. Stellar Blade is already a hit in pre-order sales. We need more successful projects like this, more games, more comics, more TV shows, more movies, anything that's done without trying to please activists, without trying to please the woke agenda, just trying to please the customer are the kind of things we should support. If you don't like it, don't buy it. But if you do like it, do buy it. Share it on social media. Let people know about it. There is still good content that's being made, and we want to support whatever's good that's being made, because as long as someone is out there making something good, it exposes the agenda of the people trying to destroy beauty in art and entertainment. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another story. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.